So here's our scenario. It's a rainy day and Jack's getting bored just sitting around at home. So he wants to do some work rather than gazing at the sky. So he had heard about enumerating user accounts and other important information from systems by using what's called a null session. So he wants to try it out and see what he's learned in his information security class. So his friends told him that the university website had a flaw in it where anonymous users could log in. Jack had installed an application which used null sessions to enumerate systems. So he tried it out in the application, and to his surprise, he got a list of all of the information about the system where the web server was hosted. So what started out as a little bit of fun and now is getting a little more serious because Jack actually started having some evil thoughts about what he would do with this new vulnerability. So what can Jack actually do with the information? How can he create chaos? And what if Jack enumerated a vulnerable system meant for online trading? So those are the things that we're going to look at. So the objectives of this module is to understand exactly what is Windows enumeration. We're going to learn how to connect via a null session and how to disguise NetBIOS enumeration. We'll also look at disguising SNMP enumeration. Then we're going to look at how we can actually steal Windows 2000 and 2003 DNS information by doing what's called zone transfers. Then we'll learn to enumerate users by using both the CIFS and the SMB. And we'll talk finally about Active Directory enumerations. So first we're going to look at the system hacking cycle. We'll talk about the different techniques that you can use for enumeration and actually what is enumeration. We'll look at establishing a null session, what tools can be used, and then how we would use those tools to enumerate our user accounts. Next, once we take a look at those tools, we'll talk about a null user countermeasure and how you would protect against it. Then we'll look at SNMP scanning, SNMP enumeration, MIBs or MIBs, and SNMP utility examples. Then we'll talk about SNMP countermeasures, and we'll look at tools such as WinFinger or Printer, or we'll also look at Active Directory enumeration, and finally we'll talk about the countermeasures for Active Directory enumeration. So if you look at the overall system hacking cycle, there are several steps that happen while you're actually doing the hacking. The first step that you usually do is to enumerate the users. In other words, you want to find out what are the users' names, and you'll do something like maybe Windows 2000 or 2003 enumeration or SNMP, or maybe you'll just use their email IDs. The next step, since we have their username, now we want to crack the password. And we'll look at some different tools like Brute or LoftCrack or John the Ripper even that will help us crack these passwords. Next, once we crack an account, then we're going to want to escalate the privileges. After all, once we're in, we want to go ahead and make ourselves an administrative user. That way we can do whatever we want. Which takes us to the next step, which is to execute applications. And these applications could be anything from keyloggers to rootkits to any kind of tools that would allow us to get in and have access in the future if we want it. Next, we'll look at hidden files and how do we hide files on the system. Maybe we don't want to launch a program right now. Maybe we want to hide it for later execution. So we'll look at some of those things. And then finally, we'll look at covering our tracks. So these are all part of the system hacking cycle.